All right, so Taurus, this one is for you. That's you, Taurus. This is Tarot Lumination, and this is your singles mini love and relationship report for the end of November, early December kind of time period, okay? That's sort of all we can do for now. Cards are already well shuffled in advance. We're just going to go to the last second so that you're a witness. No jumpers, no flyers, no oracles, no reversals, none of it. Just keeping it very simple. I would invite you to stop, start, pause, rewind as needed so that you can integrate some of these questions into the reading and sort of do your own interpretation as well, okay? Because we can only do so much here with Tarot Illumination. Tarot Illumination is not a fortune teller. We're dealing with singles here, and we're just talking about potential energy of what if, okay? So let's just get right to it, all right? Let's see what's going on here. Remember, we're just talking about a little time period. It's just that for you, Taurus, it's a particular time period which could make you feel, let's say, stretched out to the maximum, because this is Scorpio season right now. We've got that huge new Jupiter and Scorpio thing going on. We just had the sun move in. We've got we just had a Taurus full moon, and I think we've got a Venus there, and we've got the new moon coming up at some point fairly soon, and that's a lot of Scorpio energy. So there's you, Taurus, and then there's all this huge pile of Scorpio energy over here. It's like maximum opposition, maximum polarity, maximum awareness, like this, like being two mirrors very, very strongly like placed in front of each other with nowhere to go. The thing is, for you, Taurus, there's nowhere to go. There's nowhere to hide with this kind of light. And so it could be very stark. And of course, we're dealing with scorpionic energy. So we're going to the depths of the very depths, which can be a very beautiful thing too. We're talking about deep intimacy, deep soul healing, deep vibrational energy healing in the potential of relationship here. It just might be a little bit that energy of kind of gulp, what's going on? Because not a lot of people want to go there. It's like too deep, too far. It's like deep sea diving. How many people want to go, into the black ink of the ocean? What do you see? There's just blackness. But anyway, let's see what happens. Let's just see what shows up, all right? I don't want to scare you away, Taurus. You're so lovely, connected to the earth, being who you are, being the, let's say, the mirror to the Scorpio. Let's have a look. What do we got? I'm going to do a big fat split here, just for fun, to break it up for you. We've had a lot of repeat cards in some of the readings. So anyway, here we go. This would be your energy that you radiate. This would be the potential of someone that you might attract. This would be the potential of what would the relationship dynamic be like? Because there's you, there's the other, but there's a relationship itself which has an integrity and identity of its own. Okay? And in a really healthy relationship, both parties invest in this. It's a crucible, it's a container in which the relationship of the both of you can exist. Where does that take you? Where are the prospects? What can come out of this? And let's have a look at the circumstantial energy. Think of it as the weather. Make the best of it, like we all do. Rain or shine, make the best of it. I'm not telling you how to live your life. I'm just saying there's no point in being a victim of the weather, okay? What do we have? The Chariot. So circumstantial energy might be feeling as though, let's say, even though it might be a lot of pressure on you right now, Taurus, the circumstantial energy might make it feel as though like you have no choice except to become the very newest, best version of you than ever before, which could be challenging because it means you're going to have to go to the deepest, darkest depths of yourself, not exactly your first choice, to find out what is it that is undermining you. What is it? What is the source of self-undoing? What are all the shadow aspects that need to be discovered when we go in very, very deep in order for our true selves to emerge so that we can harness everything about who we are and own the shadow so that the shadow does not own us. Name all those things that take us down, that have hurt us in the past, all our history, all the pain and suffering that we've had. And instead of denying it, admit it, define it, get it out of you and then you can file it away like a little journal or a book on the shelf. So it no longer owns you. It's outside of you. What are you radiating? Aha! So, new discoveries, new chances to figure out who are you really. Maybe in this time period right now, this could actually be kind of fun. Okay, maybe not for every Taurus. Maybe not every Taurus wants to be taken in that close, that deep, that intimately with another, or even attract another. You might not even be interested in being with another right now, except that if someone does arrive and a relationship does start to manifest, it could really, let's say, put you on the spot where you really start questioning your own self. This card is very much about value and values and worth and worthiness. So the beauty of here with the Page of Pentacles is the essence of innocence. Okay, so you might be getting exposed, like just you, Taurus, minding your own business, just living your life. You might be radiating the energy of someone who is realizing, wow, there is still so much to learn. I had no idea. You see, Taurus likes to be very, very, let's say, attuned with reality, very, very, very immersed and comfortable with the world around him, the safety, the security, the things that count, the things that have value, the things that are real, the things that you can hold on to, the foundations, the money, the security, all the stuff that really, really counts. And then during this time period, realizing that there's an awful lot more going on besides three-dimensional reality. And that would, let's say, like put you under that pressure. In other words, the circumstantial energy here puts you in a position where inside of yourself, you're realizing there's so much more to learn. There's so much more value that you have inside yourself that you possibly never knew. And it's coming to the surface, and it's happening now. And that's kind of wow. So what does that mean for another? In other words, who or kind of what would you attract? Well, you might be attracting someone who, let's say, has a lot of issues in themselves that they are struggling with, okay? So I know these cards aren't really related in any way like this, but I do see some parallels where there's a degree of, let's say, innocence and naivety here, and it's very pure. But there's also some degree of innocence and naivety here, but it's more like denial, where we're dealing with the potential energy of someone who has a lot of, let's say, I'm not saying baggage, but a lot of issues that are debilitating from multiple different aspects, inherited behaviors, let's say conditioning from youth, things that were learned and taught as we mature, as we grow, circumstantial stuff that happens to around us where we are forced to, let's say, protect and defend ourselves, and sometimes we're not very good at it. Sometimes we overdo it, but we're dealing with a person here who's potentially very beat up, extremely beat up in their own way, and they might not even want to admit it. A lot of people who are really beat up are ashamed. They're ashamed of being damaged and broken and full of issues and suffering and pain and histories of failure and unrelenting issues that can never seem to be resolved, the never healing wounds kind of energy. And so it can make it very hard for them to relate. In other words, they might require love and attention and healing, and anything that could come from relating to you, dear Taurus, as you are similarly trying to figure out, the fuller extent and the greater value of you and yourself, regardless of anyone else out there. So in other words, let's say you're just minding your own business, trying to figure out, how am I supposed to become the new, better version of me? How is that going to happen, especially with this particular season of the Jupiter and Scorpio dynamic that's going to go on for almost another year from now. So that means you're going to be kind of under the energy of reflection, like this, not this, not this, not this, not this, but this, okay? You'll be in this dynamic for a year where, There's a lot of potential for learning for you, learning and understanding and growing, understanding what really, really counts in relationship. If this other person is, let's say, if this is the energy of a wounded animal, for example, they might just be in private licking their own wounds, so to speak, and they might not be exactly what a lot of people would call relationship material, because of all the damage and the pain and the suffering. But that doesn't seem to put you off, because there might be a lot of learning that could happen here. And of course, it could be very beneficial for them, because Taurus, you can be very strong and very supportive of the ones that you do love once you've made the decision, because loyalty and trust are extremely important values to you. All right. So despite someone else's pain and suffering, you might be in a very good place to be very good for them. And they might actually be very, very hesitant or unable or reluctant to relate fully. Or if they are starting to relate to you, and you, Taurus, are attracting this potential significant other, it's a realization that there is a lot of pain and suffering and damage here that is going to need to be addressed over the long term. All right. And Taurus, you're kind of all about the long-term instability anyway. You're not really the sort who would typically go for, frivolous, one-night stand things or anything like that. So let's have a look at the potential relationship dynamic itself. Okay. Well, obviously there's good intentions here. With the Knight of Cups, my feeling is that, let's just say it goes both ways, but simply with the symbolism, it looks like you, Taurus, would not be shy about being willing to offer your love energy to this wounded party here. And it's not because out of pity. It's not because, like we talked in some of the other reports about the victim-savior dynamic. It's simply the love of one person for another. We're all injured in some way ourselves. You yourself, Taurus, might have a whole pile of issues and pain and suffering in your own way, and all that's happening with you, Taurus, is you're simply attracting a reflection of yourself, where the significant other, who in their own pain and suffering and confusion and endless dilemmas, which leaves them in a constant state of, look at the image, they're just bandaged and hurting and licking their wounds. Guess what happens in relationships? A lot of times we're seeing the reflection of ourselves. And that's one of the beautiful things about really significant relationships, is when we get to that point where we are willing to relate like this, full on, face on, 180 degrees, like say what would be happening with you right now, Taurus, is you get a reflection of yourself. So through the grace of relationship and how it works, it could be very, very beautiful. Like the most loving thing you could do is to be very loving and kind and generous towards a significant other who could literally easily represent you in your own pain and suffering too. So in other words, it's like a convoluted way of loving yourself. The most important thing you can do is to love yourself first. But if you're doing that in the context of a loving relationship, that's very beautiful. And you get to learn so much about yourself. If you can see that dynamic, you can learn so much about yourself through the divine reflection that comes through a significant other who's willing to be that close to you and to whom you are willing to be that close. Okay, I hope that makes sense, because there's a lot of love being exchanged here. And the whole idea is to put down the swords, take oneself out of the war, take oneself out of the battlefields of life, and literally enjoy the nurture and comfort of that Taurian world, the Taurian world of comfort and delights and safety and security. You might be a really good catch for them, and in so doing, you discover that they are a really good catch for you, because you have the chance to learn so much about your own pain and suffering and own debilities as you evolve and grow, simply by activating consciously and deliberately the healing power of love. Okay, where does that take you? Bam! Okay, say no more. So this is like, it takes you to who you are. to who you truly are, to who you want to be, to where the relationship could be, to where the relationship has the potential to be very abundant, very satisfying, very fertile, and the ability for you to manifest more and more and more of who you are, which would be your original goal and mission and desire and vision anyway. So why not? Who knew? Wow. So this is all potential. All right, Taurus, make the best of it. Say no more. All right. Thank you.